Hello everyone, today I'll be talking about Japan. Konnichiwa! This is what they say when they say hello. Konnichiwa is hello when you greet someone in Japan. The important people in Japan is Prince Shotoku and Lady Murasaki Shikibu. Prince Shotoku was one of the Japan's greatest leaders, reaching for his aunt since he was 20 years old, helped bring Buddhism, Confucianism, and Chinese ideas to Japan. And Lady Murasaki Shikibu was the Japanese novel and writer. She wrote Tale of Genchi, which was the world's first novel. The geography of Japan. As you can see on the right, there are four main islands in Japan: the Hokkaido, the Honshu, the Shikoku, and lastly the Kyushu. They are surrounded by the Pacific Ocean on the east and north, the Sea of Japan on the west, and the East China Sea on the south. Japan's islands are made up of the top undersea mountains and volcanoes. Because of this, only 20% of the land is flat, and all of this land is located along the coast. Being made up of islands, Japan created its own culture and social structure, though they still traded goods and ideas with other parts of Asia, including China and Korea. Mount Fuji. As you can see on the right, there's the Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is an attractive volcanic cone and a frequent subject of Japanese art, especially after 1600, when Edo became the actual capital and people saw the mountain while traveling on the Tokaido Road. At 12,388 feet tall, Mount Fuji is the largest mountain dormant volcano in Japan, and it is often used or depicted in pictures and movies. The people of Japan, also known as the Nihonjin or Nipponjin. The Japanese are an ethnic group native to Japan. Japanese make up 98.5% of the total population. Worldwide, approximately 130 million people are of Japanese descent, just like my grandmother. Of these, approximately 127 million are residents of Japan. Now, the people of Japan ancestry who live in other countries are referred to as the Nikkeijin. The term ethnic Japanese may also be used in some contexts to refer to a locus of ethnic groups including the Yamato, Ainu, and Ryukyuan people. The religion of Japan. Even though Japan was isolated, they still managed to introduce other countries' ideas into their own culture, mainly through Prince Shotoku. One of the things they got from China was the Confucianism. Another religion was the Buddhism. As Prince Shotoku was a Buddhist himself, he was sure to spread this religion to all of Japan. He had a big Buddhist temple that still stands today. Within the different Japanese islands, different forms of religions began popping up, like Pure Land Buddhism for example. But the most common religion was known as Zen. Although there were many kinds of religion in Japan, Shinto was the traditional religion in Japan. This taught that everything in nature has kami, This includes the sun, the moon, water, the trees, and basically everything else in nature. These nature spirits were supposed to help people live and protect them from harm. Emperors built shrines and held ceremonies, hoping the kami would bless them. The most powerful kami was the goddess of the sun, and early people of Japan believed that they were all descended from her. This was part of the original religion of Japan, but it was overtaken by the Confucianism and the Buddhism. The Bushido. As you can see on the right, you can see the symbols. This is a code, and Bushido was the code of rules that samurai had to follow. The name means the way of the warrior. This code taught them to live simple, disciplined lives. Many set up intricate flowers arrangements, while others held tea ceremonies or grew miniature bonsai trees in gardens. But as fighters, they had to be brave and honorable, but most of all to be loyal to their lord. He had to serve his master without hesitation, and his orders came before the safety of his own family. So that's the Bushido code that was used for samurai, that the samurai people had to follow. Now, the, Japan had some achievements, such as fashion, literatures, to visual arts, architectures, and performing arts. In fashions, women wore magnificent silk robes with up to 12 layers, all laid out to show all of them at once. They also held fans painted with flowers, trees, and birds. The literature, many written by women, diaries and journals. Excellent war choice, The Tale of Genshi by Murasaki Shikibu, which I mentioned earlier, and poetries by men and women. And also visual arts. Visual arts, there were bright, bold paintings that illustrated stories, calligraphy to write poems. Architectures were copied Chinese building structures surrounded by gardens and ponds. And lastly, the performing arts, there's musicians, jugglers, acrobats, no combined music, speech, and dance. So those were some of their achievements that happened. The economy of Japan. The people of Japan relied on the ocean for their food. Since everyone lived by the coast, people always sold seafood in the markets. They ate eel, shark, to octopus, to seaweed, fish, and other things. Because of the lack of diversity, they learned to prepare their food many different ways. Since they were located on islands, they came up with their own culture. As time went on, they borrowed ideas from China and Korea, but that was about it. Now the social structures, as you can see on the right, feudalism, that's the structure of the Japan. First is emperor, then shogun, daimyo, samurai, and then peasants, artisans, and lastly the merchants. Emperors were figurehead, follow orders from shoguns. The shogun, our powerful military leader, ruled in emperor's name. The court, group of nobles who surround a ruler. The daimyo is large landowners who led armies of samurai. And the samurai are trained professional warriors who serve shogun means to serve, fought with swords and bows. And lastly, the peasants, working class who had no power and most of population. Now, before I end, these are just some few interesting facts that I learned about Japan. Raw horse meat is a popular food in Japan. Sometimes the trains are so crowded railway staff are employed to cram passengers inside. Also, many couples in Japan celebrate Christmas like Valentine's Day. It is definitely more of a lover holiday in Japan. Poorly written English can be found everywhere, including t-shirts and other fashion items. More than 70% of Japan consists of mountains, including more than 200 volcanoes. There are 4 different writing systems in Japan: Romaji, Katakana, Hiragana, and Kanji. Coffee is very popular, and Japan imports approximately 85% of Jamaica's annual coffee production. Japan's literacy rate is almost 100%. Lastly, sumo is Japan's national sport, although baseball was also very popular. So these are just some few interesting facts that I found about Japan, and I thought they were very interesting. Interesting. So that's pretty much it about Japan. I've learned so much about Japan during this research, and I hope you guys enjoy my presentation.